Hi everyone, welcome back to the neighborhood. I've got the Moondrop Sparks in for a review thanks to Hi-Fi Go. I normally am not a fan of true wireless earphones because let's face it, most of them are targeted towards the consumer market and they simply don't sound very good to my ears. But are the Moondrop Sparks the exception or do they follow this similar rule? Let's get into it. So the Moondrop Sparks cost about $90. For that price you get two earbuds, the charging case, a short braided USB-C to USB-A cable for charging purposes, and a plethora of tip options. Regarding the tips, my favorites were the rounded Moondrop tips that come with a variety of their other offerings, such as the Aria, s.s.r, or SSP. The others were a bit flimsy for my preference, so all of the sound commentary will be in consideration of these stiffer, rounder tips. The IMs themselves are made of a decently thick, well-constructed plastic, and it's a good thing, because I usually use IMs with a cable for a reason, and I've dropped these a decent amount. So we'll say at least for now that these appear to be durable too. The body of the shell takes on a more traditional IM styling than most other TWS these days, and I have to say that I'm glad for this. It fits in my ears most comfortably and securely. And if I had one criticism of the shell, it would be that the stem is a bit too long, and therefore these poke out of my ears a bit too much. But I also suspect that they did this on purpose to assist with the internal microphone used for audio calls here. And let me tell you, the microphone on this is actually pretty good. I've used these for video calls, Discord chats, phone calls, and a variety of other communications, and everyone said that it had good call quality that was at least on par with my phone's built-in microphone. Which is surprising given that in my experience, most true wireless microphones pretty much blow donkey balls. In any case, these come in a variety of colorways to choose from, including black and gold, purple, or pink. For some reason, Hi-Fi Go sent me the pink variety, but honestly, I'm kind of glad they did. The colorway blends into my skin for video calls, and people can't even tell that I'm wearing them. I'd describe the pink colorway as Elvis Pink Cadillac color. And other than the flowers on the side, I'd say these could pass as unisex. One can also hide the pink in a red faux leather case if they wish, which you can buy separately for a few bucks at the time of purchase or after the fact. Speaking of the flowers on the faceplate, these are the touch controls. Tap twice quickly on either earbud to play or pause, or triple tap them 3 times quickly to skip forward on the right bud, or 3 times quickly on the left bud to skip back. You can also cover up the sensor to reset or send it into pairing mode if you need to. The simplest way to get these to go into pairing mode though was to take them out of the case and break the connection on the device they were paired with. This automatically sent them back into pairing mode and then they could be repaired with an alternative device. So to my knowledge, these are a one device at a time pairing situation. Placing these IMs back into the case also served to sever the connection, and taking them out again automatically repaired with the last paired device rather easily. Generally, I found the operation of these to work rather seamlessly once one gets the hang of it, although the tapping features did not always register as easily as I intended them to. With regard to battery life, these boast 8 hours of use before needing to be charged again. And the case claims to provide an additional 48 hours of battery life on top of that. And there's a 3-light battery indicator underneath the flap of the case that lets you know that the case itself needs to be charged. In terms of my testing, these far exceeded it with regard to battery life. I don't think I ever wore them down in a regular use without falling asleep with them in my ears or leaving them out of the case on accident. I also used these for over 10 hours of video calls one day, and they still had plenty of juice to boot. So normally I'd look at battery life claims such as the one on the box and be suspicious, but in terms of battery life, these far exceeded my expectations in reality. These also exceeded my expectations in sound with regard to the codec. I was initially disappointed that these did not come with LDAC or aptX HD. but the aptX X Adaptive and aptX X offered good sound quality that was actually plenty sufficient in short-term range situations. And did I mention that these also offer Bluetooth 5.2? So even though I didn't make use of their range often, they definitely could go a room or two beyond my device without cutting in and out, but don't expect the range to be more than that. But let's move on to the sound, because that's likely why you're here. And the sound is good, for true wireless or otherwise. My understanding is that these use the same drivers the Moondrop s.s.r and SSP, and it kind of shows. Generally speaking, these sound more like a relaxed s.s.r with more bass, a smoother, less forward or less shouty mid-range, and a more extended, airier treble. These may not quite have the bass quality of the s.s.r, but they sure do satisfy those who complained about the bass quantity of the s.s.r, as there's definitely a bit more impact and slightly more sub-bass going on here. But the bass isn't nearly as sloppy or overemphasized as it is in the SSP. Note thickness is slightly lean, and while I wouldn't describe either the treble or general presentation on these as fundamentally fatiguing, they are slightly on the bright side of neutral, and as such were mildly fatiguing after, and I stress this, hours of use. What I'm talking about is like at the end of a 10-hour day kind of thing. Soundstage is above average width with good depth and decent height, and again similar to the s.s.r. But unlike the s.s.r, vocals and peripheral details are less forward and more natural sounding. However, I find myself being uneasy giving even this general sound description, as it's my understanding that there are a number of over-the-air updates for this device, and each could change the tuning a decent amount per reports by other users. I updated these once I received them, and I fell in love with their tuning on version 1.1.3 and have not updated them out of fear since then. The current update version at the time of this review is 1.1.7, but it's my understanding that it's not as good. At this time, I'm too afraid to find out though, as it doesn't seem you're able to revert back to previous versions once you've upgraded. But hey, 1.1.8 may fix the problems here. In either case, my hope is that they'll offer different tuning packages for different users in the future, so that consumers can find one tuning to their liking or jump between different ones depending on their mood or their whim. But yeah, the Sparks is an exception to the rule of bad sounding true wireless, as these actually sound pretty great. To me, they're more of a mellow, airier, more generally acceptable s.s.r and a true wireless form factor for the masses. Nevertheless, they sound like what I had hoped for from the SSP, and I find myself using these more than I expected I would. So if you're a diehard wired IEM holdout like me, then you might want to give true wireless some more attention these days, as things seem to be changing, at least where Moondrop or the Sparks are concerned. And thanks everybody for watching, and make sure to follow the channel on Instagram, the blog, here on YouTube, become a member of the Discord, or become a Patreon. The Patreon is only $1.50 a month, and it gets you access to early written reviews like these from me. And with that, I'm out for now.